What if I told you you no longer have to compete anymore? What if I told you you no longer have to outrun, outdo, outspend, outgrow, outearn? I mean, just compete with those around you anymore. It sounds crazy, but let's get into it. Hi, my name is Oba Okusanya. I'm your host of the Men Rose podcast. Welcome back. It's good to have you here. Sometime this week, I was thinking about the fact that, competition is and has been such a significant part of the human existence. And, if you think about it, there's so much competition around us. There's a lot of competition for instance, in sports, there's competition in business. And, you know, those are good examples of places where competition does a whole lot and offers a lot of benefit. But when it comes to our personal lives, competition does more harm than good. When it comes to our relationships, when it comes to our friendships, when it comes to, just our interactions with other people, competition does a whole lot more harm than good. you know, Thinking about all of this, I remember a time in high school. Actually, was this high school? Yes, it was high school. In high school, I was, I would say I was a pretty good student. I would say doing well academically, so one of the kind of uh, perks of that was that I got to represent my school at different competitions. And particularly, I remember this competition that we would go to. It was a competition, it was a mathematics competition hosted on a radio show, on a radio station. So it was a competition that was also a radio show on a radio station. And, the host would, it was school versus school, right? So it would be two people from each school, two students from each high school. And, it was two of us versus two other students from another school. And of course, we'd battle it out until we get to the semifinals and then the finals. I think we never won, we never got to the finals, but we did get to the semifinals a couple of times. And I just remember being in that hot seat. I remember, this going in the school bus from our school to the radio station, and then participating in this competition. And the nerves, I remember the nerves. I remember the feeling of, okay, I'm live on radio, and they're asking me questions. I can't get this wrong. I remember the pressure. I remember the sometimes excitement too, like, oh, wow, I can't believe I just got this right. I can't believe we just beat this school. So competition definitely has good sides to it in the sense that, it helps, it provides excitement. It helps you push the limits of what's possible. And even that, you can see that in business as well. Businesses are constantly competing with one another, and businesses are constantly trying to one up each other and, get the next percentage of market share. They want to make sure that, they found a way to beat their competitor to the market with a new feature, a new product, whatever it is. There's so much competition around us, and for good reasons. Competition is good in those spheres, in those aspects of things. In sports, like, you have your favorite team. They're in a league. They're in a, if it's the NBA, if it's the NHL, if it's the NFL, like there's leagues and there's competitions and there's La Liga and there's Premiership for my soccer fans. Competition is like it's the whole world is rife with competition at this point. But funny enough, I think over time as well, we've allowed this sense of competition that we have to kind of sip into our personal lives, especially our relationships. And I'll break it down. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I would say, I was thinking about the fact that, some people are not doing things they want to do. They're doing things they think they have to do because they're sort of in competition with other people. Let me explain. Some of us, the lives that we live, the cars we drive, the clothes that we wear, the social clubs that we hang out with, it's not because that's what we really want. It's because we've told ourselves in our minds, these are the people I'm competing with, and I have to one up them. I have to do better than them. I have to find a way to, appear richer, be richer, look nicer, sound better. You're just competing with all these people. And the thing about competition is this. It takes a lot of effort, and it doesn't even it's not like it takes a lot of effort and gives you a good return. It takes a lot of effort and gives you a mediocre return, in the sense that you never actually get to be your full self. Like, you never actually get to fully express yourself and be yourself in totality of who you are. And that's not fun. Like, I'll be honest with you, man. It's not fun. It's not fun to be in a space where you have to try to fit the expectations of other people that you've set in your mind. And just an aside, some of us are competing with people who don't know we're actually competing with them. Some of these people are just living their lives, you know. But anyways, but if you ever find yourself in a place where you're thinking to yourself, this might be expected of me, I have to do this a certain way because other people are doing it that way, you've fallen into the trap of competition. And this video is kind of, I just wanted to talk about that this week because it's something that I keep seeing, across, I guess, across across just life and social media. I was having a conversation with a friend recently. We were talking about a business, like our startup, and I was telling him how I had had another conversation with somebody, and kind of just giving him an update on kind of where we were and things that we had planned. And in that conversation with that guy, I was like, hey, you know, essentially, if we go this route, we're going to have to compete with the bigger tech companies and people who are already established, who have billion dollar budgets and can release features, in a week, things like that. And he said something that really got me thinking. He said, "Why compete when you can be authentic? Why compete when you can be authentic?" I want you to think about that. Think about that for a moment, right? Why would you take the option of competition when you can be authentic? And of course, like with business, yes, competition is welcome and it's lovely because it drives and pushes the frontiers and limits of what's possible. And if not for competition, we wouldn't have, the personal computers and the MacBook versus Windows, Apple versus Android, all that stuff. It's great for business. But in your personal life, it really got me thinking about why would we decide to embrace competition in our personal lives, in our relationships, versus being authentic, you know. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I'll be honest with you. I was like, okay, this is very profound. This sounds very great. But at the same time, it really got me thinking about my life. And I started to evaluate some of the things that I've done and steps that I've taken. And, you know, I guess, just kind of taking a step back, and I'm like, am I actually living the life that I want to live? Or am I trying to like keep up with the Joneses? Am I trying to live based on the expectations of other people? Am I competing with people? I'll ask you this question. If you have a group of friends, you have a circle of friends, when somebody in your friend circle, in your group of friends, wins, what's the reaction? You see, you don't just get to know people in difficult times. I know it's common knowledge now to say that, you get to know your real friends when things are tough. You get to know your real friends, the people that stand by you when you're in the mud, when you're grinding and you're in the dirt. That's when you get to know who's got your back. You also get to know who's truly for you when things are going well. You also get to know who's really there for you, who's able to celebrate you when things are going well. Because that is proof that that is not someone who's in competition with you. You know, if you find that in your friend group, in your friend circle, anytime something great happens to you, some people are quiet, others are supportive, others are celebrating, others are showing support. You might want to take a closer look at the quiet ones. You might want to take a closer look at the ones who don't seem to be happy with you, because it's in most cases it's some sort of indication that there's some competition going there. And you might not realize it, but it is just what it is. But, anyways, back to my story. It really got me thinking about how if we decide to embrace competition in our personal lives, it robs us of the joy and the privilege and the essence of being authentic and being our authentic selves. So I wanted to kind of talk about that on this episode. But anyways, let's get into it. So I have three things that I want to kind of shed light on in terms of the disadvantages of getting into that competition when it comes to our personal lives. The first downside of competition, I would say, is that it automatically shifts the focus from you and what you are to other people. By embracing the spirit of competition in our personal lives, by you know constantly competing with other people. And like I said, this is not in business, this is not in sports, this is just in life. You get to a place where you take the focus of yourself and you start focusing on these other people. And we all know that you can't achieve great results if your focus is split. There's that analogy that people have and people say where it's like, if you're running a race, you can't stop for every dog that barks along the sides of the race, something like that, kind of alluding to the fact that you can't say you're running a race and you're looking down the road, down the lane that you're running, at the same time also paying attention to the crowd and paying attention to someone else who's on the side. Like, you have to remain focused. By competing with other people in your personal life, you are essentially splitting that focus. You're essentially shifting the focus from the things that you're supposed to be doing and the things that you're supposed to be consumed by and obsessed with. Now you've shifted that focus to other people, and you start asking yourself things like, what do they think? How would they do it? Oh, I saw that they're doing this. I'm gonna go try to do that. That is that is terrible. Let's not do that. And honestly, if you're doing this and if you've done this, it's no like I'm not taking shots at you. This is also a reminder for me, because it's not like we do these things knowingly sometimes. Sometimes we just kind of slip into it unknowingly. Like, you saw your buddy wear that shirt. Now you want to go buy that shirt too. Not because it was a really nice shirt. It was just the fact that that person had that shirt. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's trivial, but if we're not careful, we can get into it and it's a trap. Anyways, let's go to number two. Hey there. I had to interrupt the podcast episode to tell you about the Clarity 7 communication guide. This guide is for you if you've ever struggled with your communication, if you've struggled with passing a message across, being clear and concise in your communication, or if you just struggle with confidence in communicating. This guide is for you. I'm not an expert. I'm not a communication guru. I'm just a guy who's found some steps that worked and just wants to share that with his community. So if you need some help with your communication, this guide is for you. It's free. Get it in the description below. It's in the description of the podcast. Wherever you're watching or listening, get it and improve your communication today. I'm rooting for you always. Let's get back to the pod. The second downside when it comes to competition in interpersonal relationships and in communities and all that stuff is the fact that it's not sustainable. Like, there's no long-term success. There's no long-term sustainability when it comes to competition, when it comes to competing with people who are in your life. I want you to picture this. Competition will have you thinking that those that are supposed to help you and those that are supposed to, kind of offer you support in the journey of life, and those that you can actually rely on, those that you can actually call on, competition will have you shunning those people and trying to outdo them when you should be taking advantage of the fact that you have these people. One of my very good friends, he's one of the things that I've realized over the last couple of years is the fact that if you take a closer look at those that are around you, God has, in his wisdom, found a way to place everything that you need around you. But he didn't just place those things in random places. He put those things in people, right? So wherever you might be, there might be things that you need to take you to the next level. It could be in business, it could be in finances, it could be in relationships, whatever it is. A lot of times, the things that we're looking for and that we need to get to that next place are in the people around us. But if you are in a competitive spirit and if you have a competitive mindset, you will never think to yourself, I can go ask for help. You'll be there stuck, hitting your head on the rock, trying to figure out what to do when the solution could be a phone call away. One of my brothers, he's a media guru, shout out Focus. When I was gonna start this podcast, you know, I I I was trying to figure out, okay, like, equipment wise, what to do, gear, how do I set stuff up, lights. I'd never done this before. Like, I was brand new to starting a podcast. I don't know what to do. I wasn't about to now go like spend all my time trying to figure out, oh yeah, like how do I do this? Blah blah. I gave my brother a call. I was like, hey, Focus. Um, yeah, trying to start a pod. I need help. I need support. What do you think I should do? Like, I'm teachable. Let me know what to do. And right there and there, he's like, get this camera, get this, do this, don't do this. you know? So essentially what I'm saying is, by just snapping and stepping out of the world of competition, you can actually tap into the wealth of resources in people that you have. So stop competing with people that are supposed to be helping you. That's all I'm saying. The third downside of competition, I would say, is that it just it takes all the satisfaction out of life. It takes all the satisfaction out of all that you do. It takes all the satisfaction out of the goals you achieve, out of the things that you get to do, and you get to achieve, like all your achievements. If you're a competitive person who's very competitive in terms of relationships and friendships and all that stuff, you're competing with those around you, you will find that you will never be truly satisfied by your results. You'll never be truly satisfied by the things that you achieve. And that's a miserable way to go through life. It's I can't imagine a life where you're not able to celebrate your wins, because as soon as you get the win, you're already starting to compare that win to what somebody else has, and because of the spirit of competition, you're like, oh yeah, I need to do this better. Like, chill, celebrate the win, you know. And which kind of brings me to the next part of all of this. You might be watching this, listening to this, and you're asking, okay, Oba, I hear you, Oba. Like, I hear you. Competition within personal relationships, competition around, in friendships is bad. It's bad for interpersonal relationships. It's bad for friendships. It might be great for business. It might be great for sports. But when it comes to interpersonal relationships, it's bad. I hear you. What about, and the next question you might be asking is, okay, so how do I stop competing? Yeah, how do I stop competing? You've told me the downsides of competition. Now, how do I stop competing? From my personal experience, in my perspective, in my worldview, the only way I believe you can stop competing is to be authentic. The only way you can stop competing with those around you, and this is the unhealthy kind of competition, is to be authentic. Be authentically you. Be yourself. And authenticity is, you know, like the thing being like, I don't know how to put it. I almost want to do the Mamma Mia Italian hands. But authenticity is like something being so original, being so unique, and being like its true self. Like, it's not influenced by other things. It's not impacted, like its true self, like the true essence of a thing. So when I say be authentic, I'm saying be your true self. Like, embrace your full self. Embrace who you are, who God has called you to be. Embrace the things that are weird about you. Embrace the things that are quirky, the things that are like a little bit creepy about you. Embrace those things, because nobody is you. And that authenticity, once you realize and you embrace that full authenticity of who you are, you start to realize there's no point competing with somebody else. There's no point competing with other people when it comes to your personal life, because the things, your background, your education, your genetic makeup, your DNA, the way you look, the way you talk, the way you walk, it's all different, you know. So there's no need competing with people in that regard. Embrace your full self. And I know being authentic is, it kind of gets thrown around like, yeah, be authentic. It's cool, you got to be authentic. Even people on social media are being copycats in the sense that they're telling people to be authentic. Like, oh yeah, just put yourself out there and be authentic. No, no, no. I'm not saying be authentic in such a way that you look like and sound like everybody out there. I'm just saying be yourself. Point blank. Like, be yourself. And don't try to like fit the mold, and don't try to sound like these other people sound. Like, it is just what it is. My wife is always making fun of me. She's like, sometimes you sound Canadian, sometimes you sound Nigerian, sometimes you sound Yoruba. So like, bro, I'm like, this is who I am. And depending on the context of the conversation, depending on who I'm talking to, and depending on, like, yeah, and depending on if there's suya, like, I'm just joking. I said suya, but depending on the kind of food we're eating, you get a different side of me. But all of that is who I am, and I'm not going to shy away from bringing my full self to a conversation or to meet people when the time comes, because I'm not competing with them. I'm not. And I hope you're not too, because like, there's no other way around this issue of competition. Be authentically yourself is what I would say is one of the best ways to avoid this competition thing. The other thing I would say is to be grateful for who you are, what you have, and all that you do. Like, be grateful. Just be grateful. Contentment, like being content in the sense that, like, I am grateful for all that I have. Yeah, I'm not competing with the next guy trying to get the next car or the next clothes. I like the bro. It doesn't matter. You know. You know. Recently, I came across a story of two German brothers. Is it two or three of them? I forget now. They're these entrepreneurs in the startup world, and they decided to do something crazy. This was like years, like decades ago, I guess, maybe 20, 30 years ago now. eBay was kind of a big deal in the States at the time and in North America at the time. And they wanted to start a company, and they decided, you know what, we want to start a company like eBay. But rather than competing with eBay, you know what these guys decided to do? They said, we're going to start a company similar to eBay, but we're going to go do it in our home country, because they were from Germany. So they took the idea, took it to a different country, and said, you know what? We're not going to compete with these other people because we're not them. We're Germans. We like the idea. We'll go do it in Germany. Guess what? They become so successful in the span of 11 to 10 months, they get bought out by who? They get bought out by eBay. They get bought out by eBay. They right there and there. Why? Because they said, you know what? The advantage that we have is that we're different from eBay. So why would we try to be eBay? And I was thinking about this. These same people eventually would go on to just identify businesses and startups and ideas in North America that were doing really well. And they would just build a German version. I know. Talk about a no brainer, right? They would just build a German version and then eventually sell it to the American company. Like, genius idea. But again, it goes into that idea of the fact that it's not all competition you should be engaging in. Sometimes your unique advantage is who you are. Your unique advantage is legit, like, it's just is you as a person. And the more you lean into that, the easier it is to leverage that into a place where you're more successful and more fulfilled. Even the idea of the many roads, the philosophy behind the many roads is the fact that we all can't take the same road to fulfillment. So if we can't take the same road to fulfillment, if we can't take the same path to fulfillment, how then how then do you think it's okay to be competing with somebody else? They're on a different path, they're on a different road. It is what it is. So social media is full of copycats. And now, we've put AI in the picture and there's deep fakes everywhere. And there's just like people just copying of the like it's nowadays it's so crazy. People are so driven by competition that they will flat out copy somebody else just because they want that person's results, not realizing fully well that the reason why that person has that result is because they are them and they've taken the time to be authentically themselves and to put that value out in the world as themselves. You might take the same script, you could take the same script from another from another like thriving podcast and say the words verbatim, and guess what? You might not get the same results because that's who they are. So if you didn't hear anything I said in this episode, the long and short of it is this: competition is great in business, it's great in sports, it's bad for relationships, it's bad for communities, it's bad for that interpersonal connection that you have with people. It will eventually lead to a place where you focus on others. It takes away your focus. It limits it limits the satisfaction that you get from your own results, and it just takes a lot of effort. I believe the way to stop competing is to be authentically yourself and to be grateful. You know, I challenge you this week, rather than focusing on other people and the things they're achieving, I want you to take a step back and like take stock, like kind of look at your life and look at some of the things that you've been through and look at some of the things that you've achieved and just be grateful for them. I know it sounds so simple, but just be grateful for them, because whether or not you realize it, it's very easy to fall into this trap of competition. In a world full of copycats, it's time to be an original. That's what I'm going to say. In a world full of duplicates and doppelgangers and I know copycats, it's time to be original. Find your unique advantage. Well, that's all I have for you today. I would love to hear from you. Let me know if you found this valuable. Let me know what your thoughts are. And please don't forget to show us your support by liking, by commenting, and most importantly, by subscribing. Subscribe to the channel, and let's get it.